Welcome back, everybody. Game number 2 between Digital Chaos and Void Boys. Game number 1, we had our thoughts about it. A little bit of execution, a little bit of drafts.
Yeah.
We could just like brush up on both of those a bit. We could actually see a game that is much more hotly contested than game number 1.
Yeah, it was relatively close. Hopefully they go for stuff that's a little bit more straightforward, and so far that's what they're starting with. Lion to start things off. It's a stun. It does damage. You can roam. I like it. Elder Titan has some value. Oracle has some value, but together they make a very weak support duo, and I think that came to bite them a little bit too much towards the end.
Yeah, there was too many ifs, right? It's like Oracle, Elder Titan, they can do this, but at the same time, if you can't actually hit your stun because they just move out of the way because you don't have a setup stun, if you can't actually sit in the back as an Oracle and make sure you don't get initiated on and you get off your full range of spells, there's too many ifs for those kind of supports together that they make it rather inconsistent duo. Lion, always solid, always stable, always good, right? Like he's
pretty much always,
he's like not always the most amazing support in the world, but he's got 2 stuns and burst damage. You're going to be happy with that.
Definitely going to be happy with it. Juggernaut's a good way to open up their draft as well. It's just really safe. I feel like, at least looking at the last draft and looking at this one looks entirely conservative. Juggernaut can lane mid, he can lane off lane, he can lane safe lane. He's difficult to kill. He has a great teamfight ultimate that's good for him, either getting solo kills, snowballing, teamfighting. It does everything. It's going to maybe not give Void Boys the perfect composition late game, but just the opening right now is just, it does a little bit of everything, and it doesn't let DC easily draft around what their opponents are doing. Yeah,
I think the fact that it's able to go mid, I think, is what really allows this hero to be a lot more versatile. Because if it was locked in as a safe lane hero, I think there are some weaknesses there, but it's also really good against one of the more popular heroes right now, Timbersaw. Mid-Timber wasn't particularly successful for Digital Chaos in the hands of Weehaw, but hey, it still could have been maybe a second pick, and we can go into the 3-4 with it potentially being banned away.
I don't think I can talk about that too much. I was on the panel when that series happened, and I really ragged on him for his skill build, so I'm just going to let that one go. Timbersaw would be okay, I think. It's a little weak early game against Jug, but at some point it becomes much better than it in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
Disruptor opening, I'm pretty cool with that. Yeah, they could do Roar into ulti combos for Disruptor. I've seen a lot of Disruptor games versus Jug. You have to have something that allows you to set it up. I mean, Roar is just great because even if he spins, you still keep him in place. And then when the Roar ends, at least you have him not moving, and you have a couple more seconds to try to set up the follow-up Static Storm. So
yeah,
I think it's a good opening. Those 2 heroes kind of solve a lot of the problems that Juggernaut counters when you pick Disruptor. So I like it.
Yeah, and I like the combination of Disruptor Beastmaster for the Glimpse Vision as well. You're always operating with Hawk Vision really well. That was the same reason that, remember, I like for Shanghai or Manila, I'm not sure which, I had the hard-on for Night Stalker Disruptor. It was the same kind of idea, right? Yeah, it was probably Shanghai. It was like, because it's the same thing. It's like, it's an aggressive style hero in the Night Stalker that gives you vision. That's kind of exactly what Disruptor likes to have. So
Disruptor has been just the hero for the last couple months, actually. This is maybe one of the earlier picks that I've seen him, but I think wasn't he like the most picked hero at Manila, I believe? He was up there. He was definitely top 3, I believe.
He was most picked.
It's kind of phasing out slightly. Teams haven't been playing him as often, but there's also a lot more roaming invis support hero kind of stuff going on lately, and a lot of other roaming heroes. Disruptor is pretty good against those sometimes, but other times if he gets found solo, he dies. And he doesn't always have the ability to pressure lanes as much as you might need against greedy jungling heroes. So against some offlane heroes, there's definitely better supports to grab. The Meepo ban, just to be safe, definitely smart against Juggernaut as well, just because Meepo can deal with that so easily.
I think I asked either Misery or Weehaw or somebody that I asked him, I was like, in Manila, would you guys actually have picked up Meepo if it ever made it through the 3-4? And they're like, yeah, every time.
Every time?
Yeah, I'm not sure if that's a little bit of over-exaggeration, but they were down to pick the Meepo, so teams were correct in banning it away in the 3-4. Pretty much every single time is when they did that. Because, I mean, a 4th pick Meepo against a team that knows Meepo obviously very well is kind of scary. So better to take out that risk entirely.
It's smart to just ban it sometimes, I think. They didn't do it the first game, but I think you have to be able to identify what is Meepo good against, and when you have heroes like Lion, it can be good, can be bad, but Juggernaut as a carry is really going to fall flat for a long period of time if you're not level 11 and your Omni Slash only slashes 3 times, you're not going to do enough damage to Meepo, because he'll generally back himself up. So I think this is a good case where banning Meepo is the right way to go.
So we have, we don't have a, never mind, I was getting ahead of myself. So the Juggernaut being picked up obviously means that the Death Prophet would have a lot of priority in the picks simply because the way those two synergize, Teamfight Hero, physical damage, and being able to have a healing ward with the Death Prophet to help keep her alive through her exorcism timing is quite a powerful duo.
Yeah, that'd be really good.
I think that was a smart ban as well as just taking away the Bat Rider, though. Again, I think we saw in the last series, Bat Rider was... There was something about it. It was like I think they weren't a fan of running Bat Rider into Beastmaster just because
the vision stuff,
the vision
probably.
game, I think.
Yeah, and he can lock you down when you actually lasso somebody with Roar, so it's a little iffy. I think the reason the bans went a little bit slow here, in case anyone else was feeling that way, is probably just because both drafts go anyways. It's if you have combos that are apparent, like, oh, we have Void, they're obviously going to pick Venge, then everything goes faster. So I think that's another reason it was just safe for Void Boys to ban the Meepo here and Invoker. And I feel like that was a lot of the ways that DC had a lot of trouble when they finally got eliminated from Manila. They looked like they were going to have a pretty decent placing. They fell a little short. They got, I think, the second tier, which was like 9th to 12th, I think. But once you start banning out Weehaw and you put him off his best 2 or 3 heroes, he definitely has some trouble and has the ability to falter a little. Last game, it's clear Invoker is easily one of his best heroes. It's amazing. Top tier Invoker, maybe only second to like Miracle or something. But he's got a couple of heroes that are like that, but past that, he has some issues sometimes. So I like that Void Boys is prioritizing his heroes in the second phase.
It took a really long time thinking about this third pick, and you could see why. They picked a Tide, but they're picking it into the Disruptor. Now, I'm not sure if they hope to be able to match the Tide Hunter 1v1 against the Beastmaster. That seems unlikely to me, but it is rough because you like having Disruptor. He's a guaranteed silence against the Tide. You don't have to worry about Crack and Shell. So Digital Chaos are going to be happy in that regard, but it seems like Void Boys felt like they just needed some really impactful team fighting offlaner to open the game up for them. It does mean DC are going to be able to pick up the Slark. He's got the Lion to deal with, but I think overall the Slark is a very strong pick against Juggernaut and potentially Tide as well.
I really love Slark comboed with Disruptor. I've never thought about that combo before, but just think how hard it is to get anywhere that anyone wants to go. He's going to pounce you, you're going to be leashed. As you get away, you get glimpse back. There's also the fact that if Slark initiates and there's a Disrupt ulti there, then he doesn't have to use his ultimate, he doesn't have to use a BKB. He can just slap for a while until it's time to finally commit to that, because the more time that Slark has to delay the usage of his ultimate or a BKB means more stacks, more damage, more huge threat to his opponents. So I really like that two-man combo. Tide Hunter in the offlane, normally decent against Slark, but he's going to have a really tough time getting away at this point. So if they get a third support that maybe like a ranged anything, then Tide is going to have a tough time. Maybe even something like an AA would be really cool. That'd be a cool way to guarantee win their lane would be AA Disruptor Slark, but something ranged ideally to help kill the Tide, because they will definitely be able to chase him all the way.
Vengeful Spirit, saving hero for Void Boys against the combination you're talking about. There's the Pounce and the Roar, some decent single target focus, the Static Storm against Tide and Juggernaut. You don't want these heroes locked down, so they had a hero for it. I thought there was maybe consideration that an Oracle might go their way. They had the Healing Word to couple with it, and the Oracle at that point would also be a decent saving hero, but I think Venge allows you more offensive possibilities, and I think that's what Void Boys are going for here. I don't think their lineup scales nearly as well as Digital Chaos, particularly now that we're going to see a Lone Druid mid picked up, or possibly Lone Druid offlane 4-position Beastmaster.
I'm just not sure if
I think Wee's going to be playing the LD mid.
Okay.
What do you think?
I think he can handle that, no problem. Can't really mess up Lone Druid. I just, from what people say, it just sounds like he gets a little cocky sometimes, that he thinks he's going to be able to play some hero as well as his top heroes. And he's obviously a very, very talented player, but That kind of confidence can really impact you. But with Lone Druid, I don't think it's a big issue. I'm not a huge fan of Void Boy's lineup as a whole right now, though. I don't know what it is about it, but I feel like they have an inability to do stuff, is what it looks like to me. Their 2 cores, Tide Jug. Yeah, they can snowball, they can get things done. Yeah, they can guarantee Beastmaster kills in lane. I see that happening, but I just feel like them killing Slark is going to be a bit tough. Venge is not very good against Slark. Tide's okay against it. Juggernaut's not very good. Lion's okay against it. I just feel like Slark's going to be able to do a lot of good things this game.
Doom. So we
are
still looking at a greedy 4 position for DC no matter what. It's more lockdown against Tidehunter. It's also good against the Juggernaut.
Yeah.
I'm with you. I feel like I don't think you felt this way, but I felt like I'm feeling the same way about this Void Boys lineup as I did about FDL for Game 2, where it's like they've got a good amount of team fight, but I don't necessarily think that they guarantee win team fights, nor do I see a transition to objectives, nor do I see them having better late game. So I feel like it's just like, okay, you've got team fight, maybe some early game, but I'm not sure if you can actually transition that into a win in any way. But
yeah, I definitely like the Doom pick. I think it's really good. Doom against either Jug or Tide would have basically take their whole team out of the fight. I don't really see Venge as being that great of a pick. Swapping out Beastmaster Roar is okay, but swapping out Slark means your Venge still just dies afterwards, I feel like. So I think I actually would have liked something like a Shadow Demon there more a bit, because at least it can save. It's better against Slark. You can disrupt him. You can ulti him no matter what. I think that would have been a bit of a better pick. But the downside, or the better thing about Venge here is that Vengeance Aura and the Wave of Terror is very good with Jug Phantom Tide. It's a lot of physical damage. But if DC gets too tanky and they get AC and a Vlad's, Void Boys just is going to stop winning fights. That's what's going to happen. They're 2 all-in on 1 damage type. They've got some magic, but it's not that much. So I don't have a lot of faith in their lineup right now. It'll be good laning at least. Maybe if they get ahead, Lion can get a lot done, but it's just who's going to be there for the damage? Is every fight going to be like Boots of Travel, Phantom Lancer to a creep as they initiate with Blink Hex? Like it seems very, very iffy in a lot of ways. I don't know. I feel like they have to get ahead for their heroes to be better is the only way.
All right, Purge. I'm all in on Misery on these predictions. Jesus. I mean, it just happened to be that we have 3 predictions about wards, and Misery is the one who's placed in the first round of wards here, as he's the disruptor. Soxa is going to be a little bit greedier on the 4 position, so he's unlikely to be doing much warding in this game, despite him doing it last game.
Last player to be killed, though? Who'd you pick for that one?
Resolution.
On Slark. Okay.
Yeah.
Actually, I might pick Wee.
Yeah, I think that's also a respectable.
Who's going mid? That's the question. If it's
Wee's going mid.
I have 30 seconds. It's Phantom Lancer mid. Okay, if it was Jug, I would say maybe he would be the last to die. I'm gonna put Wee down. Yeah. I don't feel very confident about that now, actually. All right, I think
they do have some
pretty
they're pretty good. If they can actually get that initiation, the support duo that's going to be roaming onto mid from Void Boys is a bit dangerous. Obviously, they have Savage Roar to contend with, but you're talking about 3 nukes, essentially. Lance, Magic Missile, and Earth Spike.
Yep, and that's going to be more than enough to kill a pre-600. So.
Yeah. Okay, so we are going to have Moo Iron Taloning away, but what does Soxa do if he's Iron Taloning? Does he actually, do you think he goes into the offlane at all, or is he going to be roaming on mid?
Well, he'll eat this creep here at the large camp, obviously, see what he gets, see if that affects whether or not he can lane. If he gets something like a Satyr, he's going to be very happy, because then he can resist a lot more of the damage. And by resist, I mean eat it and then heal up, basically. He does get one, so this could mean that he goes straight to the offlane. He can also use this to go mid and try to zone Susie a little bit, but I feel like him getting experience or getting stuff done is maybe a bit more important. He will go mid ultimately.
That top lane is rather scary. 2 disables with spin.
Yeah, that's huge kill impact. That's a really good point. Instead, he's going to look for Tide, and he's going to find Snake King here. It's good that Omega opponent rotated over, but he's got Wave of Terror, so yeah, good luck on that one.
All right, Saps has the experience. I was hoping that we would see Soxa throw out the Shockwave. He's holding on to it now.
It's so much mana though. You got to save it for the right times.
Yeah, I thought he was gonna go for the last hit on the creep, but
Line's gonna find him.
Fair nose.
Oh wow, he knew exactly where he was.
Unfortunately, he can't trap Soxa in there because he can't win that man fight, but
Yeah.
he can get some damage and force him away at the very least.
If there was an observer ward there, he knew he hadn't left the jungle, so he just predicted where he would be hiding. So Soxa is kind of getting stuff done. He's forcing the supports to rotate around. This is overall quite good, I think, and he'll always accelerate with Devour later, and it's also slowing down Tide's jungling speed. So this is overall very, very good for them because Moo's going to be getting full experience in gold gain, and the safe lane of DC is always going to hold. They're also pushing. I assume they did this on purpose. They're even pushing with Dark Pack here on the safe lane.
Yeah, this is, I repeat this in cast so often, but the one person that I really noticed doing this the most is like Matumba Man for Liquid. Whenever he plays Slark, he's always pushing the lane in when the offlaner's away and chipping away at the tower. And he gets it incredibly fast, and you're seeing Resolution doing it really quickly too. They're forcing Snake to come back, and he just gets glimpsed right away.
That's a dead tower now.
If they cut this creep wave, yeah, I think he just pulls it along and lets this creep wave finish up the tier 1. That's going to be a tower before the 3-minute mark, it looks like.
That's huge. I haven't seen a tower die this fast in a long time, but yeah. Glimpse really provides.
Okay, maybe we won't see it die that fast because Omega Poner is now here. Resolution, holding off here is going to start turning, but
if he had 5 more mana, he would have gotten that kill. Ironwood Branch, anything like that, because he would have gotten Wave of Terror off. That would have been 30 pure and an extra like 18% damage with every right click. Yeah, 18. And they're going to deny it, so overall this is, I think, okay for Void Boys. It looked really bad. If that tower last hit came through, I would have been like Resolution buys Midas no matter what.
Yeah.
But now things are going to be more standard.
Does mean Soxa gets some space at the top lane, but maybe it's too much space. Almost ends up dying. Fortunately, his boots first combined with Scorched Earth does allow him to stay ahead of Patzel, who doesn't have the phase boots yet.
Level 2 Scorched Earth too. Like, he's so leveled already.
Yeah. That is the thing, right? Is that even though it was a deny, it pulls the heroes out of the jungle, out of that top area, down to the bottom lane, and the Doom is able to show up at the top lane knowing that I've got just enough to be able to survive through the Earth Spike spin.
And he was still catching up that whole time because he leaves them. He basically eats a creep, creates space for 70 seconds, goes, eats another creep, and then he's like, oh, there's space top for levels. Gets level 3, and now he's not dying. So DC is basically getting full efficiency out of the map now.
And this will leave our Beastmaster quite ahead of Tidehunters, as that jungle is always going to go to the favor of Beastmaster, but obviously Snake King rather delayed as he had to head down to bottom lane and had Soxa stealing half his experience as well. So everything seems to be kind of to the favor of Digital Chaos to start here.
Yep, and it's going pretty even here between Lone Druids, so everything's going good for them. They're pretty happy with us, I think. And Doom's a little behind in terms of farm, but he's going to hit 6, and that's when they're going to start getting kills, because that's what Void Boys have trouble with. They've got pretty good 5-man team fight, and they have pretty good individual heroes, but once somebody gets doomed and pounced by Slark, then people are going to die, and it's just going to create space for we to get faster Radiance.
747 forced to use a Doppelganger, as I believe Snare came out on him. We're going to have him going for the Midas. Resolution, doubt he goes a -2. That would be a little bit greedy for DC.
Yep, he just picked up treads. He'll be more individually able. Like, he can push lanes better, possibly get kills. I think it's better for them to be a little aggressive. I think they can basically do this passive farming thing while also ganking and do way better than Void Boys at that. As long as they play around and make sure they don't get ravaged or take a really bad team fight, things like that, then they're fine.
Right. 2 supports back up at the top lane. Soxa is hesitant to actually show up there. In fact, he's going to be in a position to be able to pop their smoke, their attempted gank onto Weehaw. We talked about the danger of the triple nuke lane in mid against Wee, and Soxa actually spoils that surprise perfectly.
So I don't know if you guys knew this or not, but I think it's a fun mechanic. When you transform in Dota 2, it's a Warcraft 3 based thing. If you start the transformation right when the nuke hits you, you dodge the damage. And I think you missed it on camera, but I caught it. He dodged the Spirit Lance from PL there, so you missed it, but I just love that. I just love watching people do that. It's very, very cool. Very small thing. You could do it. Used to be able to do it with God's Strength and Metamorphosis and Alchemist, Chemical Rage. It happens sometimes. Yep. It also technically stops the stun too, in some ways.
All right. Well, Clairvoyance will be caught, and that will be our first blood going the way of Resolution.
Last player to be killed. It's not Lion.
Yeah, it's not Lion. Soxa Is he going to be the next one on the list? Pat Soul, this time around he does have phase boots, he'll be able to keep up with you, but you can't stop this TP. Now they've already used the magic missile. And that, again, comes back to the fact that the line was in the bottom lane. The pressure of this push from Resolution is continuing to open up spots for Doom to show his face at top lane, get some experience, and both times they try and go on him, but it's just not enough.
Yeah, it really did a lot. You're definitely right about that. That early push hurts the line, which allowed Doom to get the level 3, which means now Jug's not getting the kills in the lane that he's been expecting to. He hasn't gotten a kill yet. He's still last hitting well, but he was expecting to be able to get spin kills, and they're really strong tri-lane. But just the pressure and the space creation from Sox has opened up so many options. They've been really working together as well as a team here at DC. I've always think about games like these, and it makes DC look like the best team in the world, and then I think back of how difficult it is to play at a major, and it really just shows the separation between the best teams in the world and even the tier 2 or possibly even tier 3 teams in some of the regionals.
Yeah, it is very dramatic difference, but it's funny how that difference can be crossed once you start making that push forward and you start playing against the tier 1 teams, and you experience how good they are and you learn from that. Moo trying to get out the Primal Roar. Mega Poner just outside of range thanks to Nighttime, and now Moo may be the one in trouble. Pat Soul thinks he's in trouble initially. He's going to come forward with a spin. He's going to be controlled up by the Primal Roar, and they sent back Clairvoyance. That is actually going to turn the fight back in the favor in Digital Chaos until Snake King shows his face, and DC go, nope, nope, nope. Yeah. Not going to go into a Ravage, that's for sure.
They're close to being able to fight that, but they needed either Doom or Disrupt ulti, and they weren't quite 6 yet, so pretty early skirmish there. Sox is going to get spotted by a Lion, and no death here most likely. So Roar had to be used, so that was decent for Void Boys, but I think DC's overall okay with that. He's not going to farm as much. Misery's going to get some last hits here. Not a big loss for them.
They didn't lose any time on their important farming heroes, right? The Lone Druid and the Slark continuing to farm away. Resolution, you think Blink or Shadowblade this game? Which one is a little bit better?
Definitely SB, I think, right? Yeah. Like, if he gets, if he pounces on somebody like Tide, it just starts the fight basically, forces a bad Ravage. Same thing for heroes like Lion or Venge. He could just wreck these two heroes. Either of them, if Slark initiates first, he's probably going to get a kill. It might cost him his ulti, but he's going to get a kill. So definitely, this is the most SB game ever, and that's one of the reasons that I kind of prefer somebody like Shadow Demon in a lot of cases. He's better against defending against that aggression.
Yeah. Misery, spending some time with Moo at the top lane, is getting some experience, trying to progress to that level 6. They are going to try and go on to Clairvoyance, right as the TP goes out for the Vengeful Spirit. Looks like they were able to scout that one out thanks to their ward, see the free opportunity for the kill. I'm not sure what that TP was for from Omega Poner. Maybe he saw the attempt to DC contesting the Ancients a little bit and thought he needed to rotate over, but that did leave a prime opening once again, the top lane from DC. It seems like this kind of repetitive process where DC are continuing to hit on the same weak point where they pressure bottom lane, forces something to happen where top lane's able to take advantage.
Yep, and because of all this rotation, all the supports are under level now. Line's still level 3 and it's 930. I actually haven't seen a Lion this under leveled in a very, very long time, but it's a very bad sign for Void Boys if he can't get their farm. I mean, there was basically nobody in the safe lane the whole early game, but the supports rotated around to try to zone the Doom, and maybe the solution was that one of them needed to do that and the other one needed to pull hardcore and get levels to catch up, but it seemed like they were both involved in that, and at some point you have to guarantee that that somebody gets something, or you get into these kind of positions.
So we could definitely say that Sox's 4-position Doom and how disruptive he was and drew attention away from the potential ganks on mid lane, that was integral to actually set up Digital Chaos for success. And then part 2 was the pressure they put on bottom lane to again force Void Boys to rotate out.
Yeah, exactly. All of those things were very important. In some ways, Void Boys maybe should just let them take the tower rapidly. Send Tide down, don't get him glimpsed. The tower will eventually die, but Tide will get levels from it. And then the supports stay top, keep pulling, and can at that point zone the Doom. So I think they're just reacting poorly, and DC's punishing it really hard. So I think that's what's happening here. It's not so much as, like, DC is playing it very well, but I think Void Boys is also reacting to it in a slightly bad way. It's just, it's hard to have confidence to say, like, oh, they're doing this, we're going to do something else that goes even, and to know what it is and to execute it perfectly.
Yeah. They are going to
this is bad. They found
try and bring the crane back. They got a Primal Roar on Pat Soul with the Static Storm. Looks like that's a guaranteed kill. And while we were obviously watching earlier, the attempt at a smoke from Snake King and a Mega Opponent to wrap around that lane, it fails as they ran into the Slark. That means, again, that top lane is able to continue to pressure. They get both the kill on the Juggernaut as well as the Lion as the cleanup.
That's really unfortunate for them. When their smoke wrapped around, they happen to find Slark. Slark breaks it, and the gank executed a little bit earlier than that. So they were going to be late either way. It still would have been a bad fight, but to lose the surprise of their wraparound being there and to lose your Jug, just really unfortunate for Void Boys.
Now Weeha's got all the space in the world, so he's going to start pressuring that Tier 1 tower. The faster it goes down, the faster he is going to get a Radiance into his hands, since he's already got 2,200 gold. Tier 1 dies, and a big boost to gold for Weeha.
He's been doing whatever he wants to this game. So many big implications. I mean, Void Boys needed to get a Ravage fight there. A double kill would have done wonders for their game, but they just were a little bit slow in getting there, and now there's more pressure. Another hero space creating. It's Slark.
Yeah, they are going to try and run down supports, both using their disables. They draw the line. They're going to cut across and try and pressure this Tier 1, but it doesn't need too much help because Moo, he's got Necrobook 1 in his inventory, and he's got Necrobook 2 waiting for him in his stash. He is insanely farmed.
And all the lanes are pushed now. Tier 1 towers dying everywhere. This opens up more places for Slark to do easy kills like this, and I just don't see this game not ending so soon.
Now the Doom onto Snake King. Resolution is going to try and combo up here, hit the pounce, get the extra magic damage required to make sure Snake King does go down. And unfortunately, this Phantom Lancer comes in, is immediately going to be static stormed up by Misery. They also get the control on to Mega Opponent. So 747, while he lives, he can't really do anything against DC. Oh, send back. Nice roar as well. No opportunity for a Ravage. That is a buyback that, well, it's not a dieback. It's totally useless. Pat Soul with the spin just ahead of the pounce will be able to get himself back to safety, but still, that is DC very clearly winning that engagement. No kills turned around yet for Void Boys as it continues to be a clean sweep for DC.
Yeah. Their supports are behind in levels now. They're not taking team fights as well. All the Tier 1s are dead, so Slark can basically look for kills constantly while farming aggressively. They will find a Moo kill at least, so that's going to put him on the board. He will not be the last hero that dies. Or maybe we might not even win our challenge. I think Valve's messed up some of the programming. There's going to be like 4 not dead heroes, and they're going to be like, you know what, we're not going to give that one to you, even though you picked one of the 4 correct.
Does it just choose like one of the...
Okay, well, I
only awards to one of the people who didn't die?
I chose a Barracks dying at one point. The team won the game. It ended before the Barracks died. Didn't get the challenge, even though I got the right team, I think, in the time. It was a downer. It wasn't fair.
Downer.
Oh, it was like first Barracks to die, I think, was the challenge. Which team gets the first Barracks kill? And I got the team right, and then they won, but they didn't give me the...
Yeah.
Valve, this is the most important thing you can work on. Get to it.
While we're discussing this very important mechanics of the Dota 2 game, there is going to be yet another failed smoke gank from Void Boys. They're just not finding any ground in this game, and I think they desperately need a Blink Dagger on Snake King. You know, normally it's mech, right, but this kind of game, they just seem to be struggling on the initiation front. Yeah. And if he doesn't get it, Lion is not going to be getting a Blink Dagger anytime soon, so that means there is no initiation from them.
Yeah, I mean, this game could have changed so much. It all came down to how fast. Well, first of all the roaming stuff was a really big deal, but how fast that smoke gank going top was. Like, if they would have gotten a double kill Ravage there, then Jug is in a better place. He's got his items finished. Then Ravage is on cooldown. Like, if you pick Tidehunter and you don't use Ravage, and your team is dying, then you are losing the game guaranteed, because you have to use this skill. It shouldn't be off cooldown in a lot of cases, because you should be using it to take fights and get kills. And they haven't been able to do this game, and they're being pressured, which means that they're not even going even. This is a good fight.
Misery. Oh, he gets off the Static Storm. They also throw the Doom on a Snake King. A little bit of combo up to make sure there is no Ravage. That's going to be inefficient, and it may cost them the fight. They already trade 1 for 1, and support down, but Pat Soul in some serious trouble, and he's got no support behind him whatsoever. Not even a swap is going to come out to be able to save this guy. Jesus, they just run over Void Boys. And again, I look back to this Phantom Lancer and just go, you know, it's a nice hero that does scale into late game, but right now, when you need it the most, DC are running you over because he's just not able to have an impact.
Yeah, this kind of reminds me of the series that we saw earlier today with Complexity versus FTL. They grabbed a hero that wins their 1v1 match at mid, but they're not as mobile. It's a carry. It takes them a long time to get up to speed, and if the rest of the team is losing the game, then you need somebody else to help create that space.
They're not slowing down one bit. They continue as a 5-man as they take that tier 2 in the mid lane, and they're going to rotate to bottom. And then they take that bottom tier 2. They consider Roshan, I think. Wait. I talked about not having swap, no save. I mean, Omega Opponent didn't even have swap when that pickoff was happening on the Juggernaut. So I guess I can't really blame him on positioning or saving the Juggernaut or anything. Cause
Like, it's hard to even have discussions about the game at this point because it's based so much on what level they are.
And a smoke now ruined. Tier 2 gonna fall anyway. Digital Chaos don't
get
need to take this fight, but it looks like they want to anyway. They're gonna get the Primal Roar onto 747. Resolution makes his initiation on the background. Fortunately, they caught him during the Dark Pack, so they're gonna be able to get the control onto him. DC Moo is gonna end up going down, but that Static Storm did so much damage. They're all being brought incredibly low, but now Patso with the Omni Slash, they are cleaving through all of these heroes. Resolution cleans up the Phantom Lancer on the side, but the rest just need to try and get the hell out of here. Patso, he's gonna go for the spin, will make his way back to the base, where he will survive a 3 for 4, but I mean the 2 cores stay alive from DC, but I think you're still okay with that as Void Boys, just because you're so drastically far behind.
Yeah, they get a gold advantage from that despite losing more heroes. The important thing is the experience. I would have loved for them to have their supports stay alive for more of those fights because they could have gotten 1-2 levels. Things like that really add up at this point for Venge. If more minus armor, more damage amp, that kind of stuff makes a big difference. All the experience goes to Juggernaut and Tide. Very good heroes receive it. Snake King had a beautiful Ravage that was perfect. But the only reason it worked out is because DC didn't have Doom at the time. If they did, that fight would have been completely, basically game-ending. They would have won that fight and probably taken a Rax, and then that would have been the beginning of the end.
Yeah, I mean, we kind of talked to, like, they didn't need to take that fight, right? But they chose to anyway just because they felt so comfortable with their position in the game. They got the tier 2. They could have just backed themselves away and waited for a pickoff, tried to go for Roshan, but Digital Chaos are like, no, we're far enough ahead. Take that fight. It's okay for them, but they do feed a bit of gold to Void Boys. That maybe was unnecessary. Still, though, with the Ravage down, it does mean that Roshan is theirs for the taking.
Yep, and that's almost everything Void Boys has. Omni Slash and Ravage. If they're not ahead, they can't really utilize their low cooldown spells like Earth Spike, Hex, Magic Missile. Like they basically have 2 supports that are kind of useless outside of Ravage because their cores don't have the damage to make the small cooldown disables useful.
Resolution just looking for, he got the Doppelganger off. 747. Oh boy, you just Doppelganger for no reason. Resolution will punish you.
He did that in lane? Is that what happened to start off?
Yeah, I mean, no, he was kind of like fighting up against Resolution. Resolution turned, fought him. He used the Doppelganger, but he didn't try and like run away or anything.
Okay.
Resolution is just like, okay. He went invis, waited, got the pounce on the rail 1. And then if you don't have Doppelganger right, like how do you get out of that?
Pretty tough here. They're smoking. These are pretty cool smokes. Just a little unpredictable stuff. Not the group of 5 look for fights. Just the can we grab a free kill here in the mid lane?
Yeah. And if not, they'll still be able to push the tier 3. They've got a great hero for it in the Lone Druid. No way for Void Boys to easily punish you. They're going to pull back here. Nice glimpse into the pounce for a guaranteed kill on the support. Just to start things off, DC do make it a 4 versus 5 as they now take that tier 3 tower. And Void Boys, they need to make the initiation now. They've got the Ravage. If they want to be able to stop this melee Rax from going down, they just are fearful of going for it. They're really not going to hit the heroes they need to if they just jump onto this cliff area. They're going to hit maybe 2 heroes, 2 of the tankiest heroes in the game.
Yeah, it's so tough. I don't know how they win a fight here. I feel like they should just go for it because they're already behind, and the more racks they lose guarantees the loss, but minimum they can wait maybe for Necros to die. They can try to slow the push a little. Oh, this bear even has a Moonshard. They're so far ahead.
There's the Ravage. They're going to try and combo onto the Slark, see if they can pop him. The Static Storm now comes in. The Omni Slash bounces around. They've taken out the Beastmaster. 747, though, immediately dies. He gets targeted by the Doom. Resolution. Nice. There's Spike there. Trying to blow up. Oh, he actually went for Soxa there. Maybe because Resolution's Aegis, but either way, it means that nobody's going to die, and Snake King looks like he'll be the last one dead in this fight anyway. 18-7, and that's where we call it. GG from Void Boys. Digital Chaos will take this series 2-0.
It was a good Ravage at the end, but they didn't quite focus fire perfectly. They got the Beastmaster kill, so no Roar there, but too many tanky heroes to kill. They would have had to stop Doom from coming out and Roar, and then maybe they would have won the fight, but instead they got Disruptor Beastmaster. It was a good close chance, but either way, there's an Aegis, and you got to fight through 2 carries, and that's so tough when you're this far behind.
Yep, and that brings us to a close for this initial round of the playoffs. We, of course, now have our next round, which is it the winners or the losers?
It would be.
It's the
actually,
losers matchup. It's FDL versus Void Boys.
Okay.
So that will be our next series.
I think Mott's casting that one, pretty sure.
I am not sure, but we'll check out the schedule. Either way, no matter who's casting it, you should definitely be watching it. We'll be back.